Alabama folk singer is dead after she was attacked by a pair of coyotes.
What is the monkey doing? Tell me what's wrong.
He hit your face off!
We actually have a trainer in the water with one of our whales.
If I show weakness, if I retreat, I may be hurt, I may be killed.
Baby Azaria Chamberlain was taken by a dingo back in 1980.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Man Eaters, the only true crime podcast on the entire godforsaken internet, where all the killers are real animals. Whether it's bitings, scratchings, maulings, or clawings, we are here to talk about it. I have a bit of a, you might already be able to hear it, I have a bit of a blocked nose this morning, which is a shame, because I was debating if I should record yesterday or today, this morning, and I have made the wrong choice. I thought, hey, it would be great to have a full day off, just relax. You work hard, chappy, you should rest. And so I did for the most part on Saturday. But I've woken up, I don't know why, maybe I slept with the window a little bit open because it's finally warming up here in Australia. And I thought it would be nice to have some breeze go through my stuffy room. We're also dealing with like a lot of mold in our room. This is terrible. This, like, I apologize emphatically. Unless you like it, guys. Is there a chance that maybe this is better? No, there's no chance at all. Forgot to introduce my co-hosts. Joining me, as always, is my good friend African Drum Circle. How are you, buddy? Yeah, good one. And joining us as a special guest today, it's my not so good friend Bob Catter.
1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces
by a crocodile in North Queensland. Yeah, we know that. I've just realised this as well. I don't know how long I've had this here, but the little soundboard, I have labelled that sound effect Clive because I think I got Bob Catter mixed up with Clive Palmer. Yeah, I think I've done that. Bob Catter is the Australian politician who wears cowboy hats and threatens to punch journalists when they infer that he might have Lebanese heritage. And Clive Palmer is the fat billionaire who every goddamn election just annoys everyone. Like, yeah, I don't know if Americans have that. Do you, like, you have third parties, but they don't really do very well. But this dude, like, he spends hundreds of millions of dollars putting up these shitty advertisements everywhere, including somehow getting access to, like, people's private phone numbers and emails and just bombarding us with messages about, like, immigration and gay marriage and shit like that. I don't know if that happens to you guys. It's really fucking annoying. I can't imagine how bad it would be in America with, like, because your elections go for like years. It feels like ours are pretty quick, pretty one and done. Oh my god, my nose is so bad. I'm gonna do something now I've always wanted to try. I'm testing out the mute button. So if you, for 5 seconds, do not hear me blow my nose, I've been successful. And if you do hear it, that's gross and I'm sorry. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, did that work? Great. Okay, good. Let's get into the meat and bones of today's episode, gang. And I really shouldn't say meat and bones because this is really the one animal in the world that doesn't have meat or bones. I guess kind of it has meat. I've eaten this animal before. We're talking jellyfish, my friends. I've eaten jellyfish. Jellyfish is actually really, really delicious. I had it at a Chinese restaurant that I worked at when I was in my early 20s. So today, it's a list episode. We're going to be talking about the list of fatal jellyfish stings in Australia. There's not a ton of them, like compared to other lists, so like crocodile attacks and shark attacks and stuff like that. But we are going to get into it. But first, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the two real culprits behind these attacks. So break out your wetsuit or your cozy or whatever it is. Get a bottle full of piss ready because you're going to need to put it on your little stings. And let's learn all about Australian jellyfish. Australia, we're famous for lots of things. We have beautiful sunburnt beaches. We have Vegemite, and we have a shocking amount of casual racism. But of course, we're also known for the parade of animals that seem like they were designed in some fucking lab somewhere to kill you. The big ones, snakes, sharks, crocodiles. Those are like the headline grabbers, the ones that we hear about a lot. But lurking in the shallow depths of the coral reefs in the north is a killer that doesn't have any teeth. It doesn't roar. Guys, just like me, it doesn't even have a brain. It's a silent, nearly invisible killer, and it has been called the most venomous creature on the planet. I'm talking about jellyfish. No. Don't, before you go rolling your eyes and you're picturing the harmless little blobs that wash up on shore and you pop underneath your feet like nature's bubble wrap, those aren't really the jellyfish that I'm talking about. I'm talking about killers that haunt the coastlines of northern Queensland, the Northern Territory, and even parts of Western Australia. Now, the two most infamous species that we're going to be talking about today are the box jellyfish and its tiny but equally nasty cousin, Irukandji. And I think I pronounced that right. Irukandji or Irukandji, I'm not sure. Together, these two jellyfish have been responsible for generations of swimmers, fishermen, and unlucky children never making it home. Now let's start by talking about the big one. Literally the big one. The box jellyfish, aka Chironex fleckeri. That is its scientific name. If you could actually manage to spot one, which isn't easy, it doesn't look at all, like it's that scary. Its bell, or its, body, is nearly transparent, and it's shaped like a cube about the size of a basketball, hence its name, the box jellyfish. Hanging from each corner of this box are up to 15 tentacles, each of them able to grow at least 3 meters in length. And each tentacle is lined with thousands upon thousands of microscopic stinging cells called nematocysts. These act like poison-tipped harpoons. If you brush against one, even just a few centimeters of tentacle on your skin, you'll feel fire ripping across your body. If you get a really big dose, not even a really big dose, just a proper dose, your heart might just simply stop beating in minutes from the pain. The venom of the box jellyfish is designed for efficiency. Unlike most jellyfish, which drift around catching tiny plankton, the box jellyfish is a hunter. It actually swims and uses its surprisingly strong pulses of its bell, and its venom isn't just for defense either, it's predatory. It's powerful enough to instantly paralyze small fish and crustaceans, stopping them cold before they can wriggle away. And to us unlucky humans, that same venom is catastrophic. It attacks the heart, the nervous system, and the skin all at once. In fact, the box jellyfish's sting is so lethal that it can kill a fully grown adult in as little as 2 minutes. Death can come so fast that some victims actually drown before they can even scream for help. Survivors often describe the pain as beyond anything imaginable, like being branded with red-hot metal while their chest tightens and their body goes into shock. But the box jellyfish isn't Australia's only nightmare in gelatinous form. Enter the Irukandji. Unlike the box jellyfish, this one is actually tiny. It's barely the size of a fingernail, with near-invisible tentacles trailing behind. Because they're so small, they're almost impossible to avoid, and that's what makes them so dangerous. An Irukandji sting might not seem that bad at first, maybe just like a mild prick or a bit of a rash, but within 20 to 30 minutes, the real horror begins. Victims develop what is called as Irukandji syndrome, a collection of symptoms that sound like something out of a medieval torture manual. Excruciating muscle cramps, relentless nausea, vomiting, skyrocketing blood pressure, difficulty breathing, and an overwhelming sense of impending doom. And that's not like a poetic exaggeration there either. Patients literally report feeling that they are certain that they're about to die. Even with treatment, the syndrome can last for days. Deaths are rarer than with the box jellyfish, but they do happen, and survivors sometimes wish that they died just to end the agony. And then, of course, there is the sea wasp, another deadly jellyfish in Australia. Now, this name can get confusing because sea wasp is sometimes used as a nickname for the box jellyfish itself. But in northern Australia, locals often use it to describe particularly nasty cubozoans, jellyfish in the same family as box jellies, but are not always as large. Just like their big cousins, sea wasps pack a venom strong enough to drop a person in minutes, and they often show up in the same shallow, sandy waters where people like to swim. Their sting leaves angry, whip-like welts that can scar for life, and they're considered some of the most aggressive stingers in tropical waters. In short, whether it's a box jellyfish, a sea wasp, or an Irukandji, Australia's north coast can be dangerous in the open sea. And that's the thing about these jellyfish, is they actually don't look like killers. They're transparent, fragile, and brainless, and to be honest, when you look at them in the water, they can be quite beautiful. But every summer during stinger season, nets go up, warning signs are posted, and locals keep vinegar bottles ready on the beach. Because once you've got predators with no face, no brain, and no mercy, the ocean doesn't really need sharks anymore to be terrifying. So we're going to go through the list now of all the fatal jellyfish stings in Australian history, or in Australian recorded history. Of course, I say recorded history because I'm sure hundreds of Indigenous people were probably killed by jellyfish, hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, but there are no records of that. So our records actually start in the 1800s with Peter Clark, who was an 8-year-old boy. He died in 1878 in December from a box jellyfish in Queensland, in Cleveland Bay in Townsville. The Townsville pops up for the first three, actually. So it could be that there were a lot of jellyfish there, or just the Townsville area was the first one sort of keeping record of this. A couple of years later, in 1884, Frederick William Smith, 11 years old, was also killed in Townsville at Ross Creek by a box jellyfish. The following year, an unnamed victim of unknown age was killed by a box jellyfish in Townsville. And the final death in the 19th century was Fred Harwood, who was 14. He died in 1892 in November by another box jellyfish. This time, though, in the Northern Territory, in the sea baths up in Darwin. Moving along, now we're in the 20th century now, where the information gets a little bit more in depth. So this person, we don't even have a name, and we don't really have a last name either. This person is just simply known as Gould, 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 and they died sometime in 1910 to 1911 in Queensland. This occurred during the Christmas holiday period in Cannon Valley Beach in Pioneer Bay near Mackay. Albert George was killed in 1911 in May in Queensland in Cannon Valley Beach in Pioneer Bay near Mackay. Again, arms attached to the boy's belly, torso, and arms. The victim lost consciousness and died within half an hour. Open bathing at this location was prohibited after this second death within 6 months. So those two deaths were connected there. Charles Treneman was a 15-year-old who died in 1916 in March to a box jellyfish in Rose Bay near Townsville again. The boy was stung on his neck, body, shoulder, and legs. He died about 10 minutes later from nerve shock from pain. A Mr. Man, which sounds like a fake name, Mr. Man, was killed in 1923 in February by another box jellyfish, this time in a place called Prosper Pine, which I've never heard of Prosper Pine, but Prosper Pine is a rural town and locality in the Whitsundays, which is a beautiful place. Maurice Woods was a 7-year-old who died in 1930 in January from another box jellyfish. So far, all of them have been box jellyfish. This person died in Magnetic Island near Townsville. I actually know someone who lived on Magnetic Island for quite a while. Shout out Joe. I love you. Joe's great. She's fantastic. She was my dance teacher, and boy, did she have her work cut out for her, because I am not a graceful mover. Okay. My nose is so bad, guys. I think I might need to try that mute button again. Hold on. Oh, God. Okay, we're back. Salvatore Cantarella died in 1934 from a box jellyfish in Queensland at Googara Beach near Tully. Marks on his right leg and left foot, believed to have died of shock and heart failure after the sting. A post-mortem was conducted by Dr. A.R. Townsend. Very very specific information there. David William Taylor died at the age of 19 in 1939 from another box jellyfish, this time in Bramston Beach near Babina in Cairns. I've been to Cairns. Beautiful place. He was stung while in waist-deep water, assisted from the water by George Griffin, but collapsed and died thereafter. In 1939, Thomas, a.k.a. Tommy Frederick Chandler, was killed, this time by a sea wasp. First time it's not a box jellyfish. This boy was killed at the age of 11 in the Northern Territory at Lamoureux Beach in Darwin. Government baths. He was stung on his chest, body, and face. Ooh, God. Jellyfish specimen was collected for analysis. The victim's name was also reported as Robert Chandler. Chandler died 15 to 20 minutes after being stung. A boy called Benny Babin, who went to his rescue, was also stung and hospitalized. Others stung during the prior fortnight were treated with morphine. I think that's one of the things that scares me the most about this, is you could just be swimming, having a good time, and 15 minutes later you're dead. It's so fast. Terrible. We have a series of people that died where there's not much information, so I'm going to power through these really quickly. Ruth Hamilton, 5 years old, died in 1939 from a box jellyfish in Googara Beach. Patrick Paul, who was 3.5 years old, died in 1939 from another box jellyfish, this time at Horseshoe Bay. JC, that's all they are. Actually, those are my initials. Was it me in a previous life? Died in 1941 at the age of 13 from a box jellyfish in Townsville. Robert Ernest Day, 8 years old, died in 1941 from a box jellyfish in Rose Bay, Townsville. The boy died en route to the hospital. WJH, don't know who that is, we just know them as WJH, died in 1943 in March at the age of 21 from a box jellyfish at South Mission Beach. An unnamed man was killed by a sea wasp in 1944 in January. The victim was a serviceman. There you go. He died in the Northern Territory somewhere. Brian Andrew McNamara. I've always loved McNamara as a name, by the way. Just offhandedly going to tell you that. He died at the age of 10 in 1949 in December from a box jellyfish in North Mission Beach near Tully. Now, finally, we have a bit more information on this next person. This guy's name was Wojciech. How do I say that name? It's like Czech or something. Wojciech Chisor. Or is it, when you pronounce CZ, it's like it's ch, isn't it? It's like ch, yeah. So this person's name is Wojciech Chisor. I think he's probably like Greek or something, or Polish. Wojciech Chisor died at 31 years of age in 1950 from a box jellyfish attack in Northern Territory in Mindle Beach in Darwin. He died minutes after being stung. A specimen was collected and identified by Frank McNeil, the curator of invertebrates at the Australian Museum. The victim's name was also reported as Wojciech rather than Wojciech, or whatever it really was. An unnamed victim was killed in 1951 from a box jellyfish in Kissing Point Baths in Townsville. I wonder if he was kissing someone. James Ernest Lane, 33 years of age, died in 1953 after a box jellyfish. And this is weird because it says box jellyfish in parentheses, definitely not a Portuguese man of war. I don't know why they've specified that. What it definitely wasn't. That's bizarre. Box jellyfish. It definitely wasn't an African elephant. Anyway, James Ernest Lane died in Saltwater Creek in Townsville. The victim experienced severe pain, paralysis, and frothing at the mouth. Jesus Christ. Clark William Kuro died in 1954 at the age of 8 in the Northern Territory. He died in Darwin, close to Larrakia Army Barracks, 3 yards from shore. He died a few minutes after being stung. In Cardwell, in 1955, an unnamed boy was killed by either a box jellyfish or a sea wasp, and that Cardwell is in Queensland. TWS, there's a lot of just initials here, and I'm not really sure why. But TWS died at the age of 38 in December of 1956 from a box jellyfish in Queensland in Pierce Creek. In Pierce Creek. Why did I say it like a baby? Robert Tennant died at the age of 10 in 1956 in March from a box jellyfish in Bluff Beach. Lynette Mary Starkey died at the age of 11 in 1957 in December in North Mission Beach in Queensland. She was stung on the legs while bathing with other children in shallow water, collapsed on the beach and died. Wounds were visible on her legs. Damn. JRK, that's JFK's worst nephew. I don't know what I'm saying. JRK died in January of 1962 at the age of 9 from a box jellyfish. He died in Bamaga. Oh, it's like B-A-M-A-G-A. Bamaga. That stands for better ask, make America great again. I don't know. Okay. An unnamed victim died in January of 1962 at the age of 7 years old on Thursday Island in Queensland, again from a box jellyfish. All of these ones, until I say otherwise, are box jellyfish. Okay. Again, I don't know why so many initials here. RVB died at the age of 50 in January of 1962 on Yorkie's Knob. Oh, that sucks. I don't want to die on anything called Yorkie's Knob. GCD died at the age of 6 in December of 1962 in South Mission Beach. An unnamed girl was killed in January of 1964 at the age of 9 on Palm Cove. This occurred a few months earlier than the Paul Haratos incident, which we're about to talk about now. Paul Haratos died at the age of 6 in February of 1964 at Mica Beach, 4 miles from Darwin. The victim was standing in calf-deep water. He collapsed and died instantly. Jesus Christ, that's crazy. Terrence Barney, aged 5, was killed in January of 1965 by a box jellyfish in Mornington Island, Gulf Carpentaria. An Aboriginal boy was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. Again, a few with just very little information here. An unnamed boy, 4 years old, died in January of 1966 at Half Moon Bay. James Wooler, aged 10, died in 1967 at Irukandji. An unnamed woman was killed at Forest Beach on December of 1970, and Gregory Noel Jarrett died at the age of 12 in 1971 in Seaford Beach, which is 40 kilometers north of Mackay. Now, an unnamed woman was killed in 1971 at the age of 26 in North Mission Beach. The investigation was carried out by Dr. J.S. Barnes of Cairns. I like Cairns. I want to go back. An unnamed boy who was an unnamed boy who was 5 years old died in 1980 near Wongaling near Tully. We have some funny place names. Wongaling near Tully. Animals were observed by the victim's older brother. An unnamed boy who was 6 years old at the time died in 1984 in Lockhart River, 300 kilometers north of Cooktown. And finally, an unnamed boy, aged 5, died in January of 1987 by a box jellyfish. There is no information on the state or territory or the location. So there you go. I'm going to just use the mute again one more time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very sorry. I realize what I should have been doing, right, is like playing a sound effect or something. Why am I just putting you on mute? That's terrible. How about I do, okay, I'm going to do a sound effect. Let's listen to Bob Catter while I blow my nose, okay.
Let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. But I ain't spending any time on it because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces.
All right, thank you, Bob. That was great. Very good. Okay, we're into the 21st century now, guys. We're getting close to the end. There's only a few people on this one. Jellyfish stings become less frequent, actually, as we get closer to the modern day, which is great. I think it's because of just jellyfish awareness and also probably the ways of medically treating these stings are probably much more advanced. But let's crack on. In 2000, an unnamed boy was killed at the age of 5 by a box jellyfish in Queensland. This occurred in Yarrabah near Cairns. 2 years later, an unnamed male, 58 years old, died in January of 2002 by an Irukandji, the first one on our list. There you go. This person died in Hamilton Island in the Whitsunday Islands. An unnamed male, there's a lot of unnamed people here, I'm not sure why. Unnamed male, 44 years old, died in the same year, 2002, in April, in Port Douglas. We don't know what the species was, but let's just assume it was either a box jellyfish or an Irukandji or a sea wasp, because those are kind of like the only three that seem to be able to do it. Another unnamed person. Wow, these are all unnamed. Everyone in the 21st century is unnamed. That is very strange. I might investigate that later. An unnamed boy who was 7 years old died in March of 2003 by a box jellyfish sting in Wongaling Beach near Cairns. This person was stung on the chest and neck. Allegedly, he was the 68th person in Australia to have known to have been killed from a box jellyfish sting since records began in 1883. 3 years later, in January of 2006, an unnamed girl died at the age of 7 in Umagiko Beach near Bamaga. The following year, in November 2007, an unnamed boy was killed by a box jellyfish in the Northern Territory. He died when he was 6 years old. Now, this is the first of its kind on the list. 2 unnamed victims at the same time. They were 74 and 76 years old. They died in 2016 in November. Now, they were suspected to have been killed by an Irukandji, but it has not been confirmed. These people died in Michaelmas Cay. 2 French tourists died within 10 minutes of each other. Hypothesis was formed by a cardiologist and was dismissed as speculation by a tour operator. That's a very strange... I'm going to read this article. We've got plenty of time, and there's only a couple left. This article is from 2016. Reef death. Cardiologist suspects Irukandji jellyfish stung French tourists. Let me read you this article. 2 French tourists who died within minutes of each other while snorkeling on the Great Barrier Reef are likely to have been stung by the Irukandji jellyfish, a cardiologist says. The pair, aged 74 and 76, suffered heart attacks and died in the water at Michaelmas Cay, east of Cairns, on Wednesday. The ABC understands one was wearing a stinger suit and one was not. However, both tourists had pre-existing medical conditions. Cardiologist Dr. Walker said that it was highly unlikely that 2 people would die in such quick succession regardless of their health. I think it's highly likely they were stung by Irukandji, Dr. Walker said. Irukandji are the size of your little fingernail. They're very small and you can't see them. Let's look at fact and probability. The Irukandji is one of the world's most venomous creatures. Dr. Walker said its toxin can take time to manifest and send the body into cardiac arrest. The point is that it doesn't have to be soon as you're stung. It can wait 15 minutes or 20 minutes before it actually impacts the body, Dr. Walker said. Colonel Mackenzie from the Association of Marine Park Tourism Operations said the jellyfish claims were simply speculation. He said the crew members from the Passions of Paradise tour boat were in the water with their passengers. Environmental issues played no role whatsoever in this. No one else saw any jellyfish and nobody else got stung, Mr. Mackenzie said. He said that the crew handled the situation well. To have 2 separate incidents occur within 10 minutes of each other is unheard of, he said. I have 35 years in the industry and I've never heard anything like that. Deputy Premier Jackie Trad, I remember Jackie Trad, expressed her condolences to the family of the tourists and those traveling with them. She said it was important to consider all of the factors that contributed to the incident, but defended the region's safety record. It is absolutely safe, she said. It's a world icon, and we encourage lots of people to come to Queensland to look at the reef. Okay, I think I've read enough here. I think I know what's happening. I think that it probably was. I think it probably was Irukandji, but the Premier, probably under pressure from the tourism board, and also the person who runs, obviously, like the reef tour that the French tourists were on. They have a pretty vested interest in making it seem like everything's safe. So I'm gonna say that I think it probably was a jellyfish. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go snorkeling at the Barrier Reef, of course, but let's not pretend that things that that happened didn't happen. Let's not lie. So I guess I'll just end on saying that Irukandji, it was a suspected killing. We don't know, but come on, pretty likely. Okay. Final 2. It's a little bit of a come down after that story because there was a lot of information there, but an unnamed boy died in 2021 at the age of 17 in Cape York, which is right at the top of Australia, really, really far north. And an unnamed boy was killed at 14 years of age in 2022 from a box jellyfish in Ilmo Bay in Mackay. There you go. That's quite a short list, but I enjoyed going through that. So those are really like a few worst case scenarios relating to Australia's most terrifying jellyfish. Box jellyfish and Irukandji and sea wasps, they're floating nightmares. And they really prove that you don't need to have sharp teeth or claws to be deadly to people. The box jellyfish, the Irukandji, and the sea wasp remind us that sometimes even the smallest, quietest creatures are the ones that you should fear the most. That's right. The really quiet, tiny little goth girl in your class? She's the most fucked up one in the whole room. So be careful. I think that's the moral of the story that we're going here. And if you think that Australia has the monopoly on lethal jellyfish, you're wrong. Think again. Around the world, there are plenty of killing deadly animals, including the Portuguese man-o'-war, which drift in swarms across the Atlantic. There's the lion-maned jellyfish with tentacles longer than blue whales. That doesn't sound right. Jesus Christ, what? Oh my God, I have to look into that. And even mysterious jellyfish blooms that have shut down nuclear power plants. We're going to dive into those killers in a future episode someday. Because, when it comes to deadly creatures in the ocean, we're barely cracking the surface here. And we're back. My nose is still blocked as fuck. It's terrible. I'm so embarrassed. Like, I was really excited to record this episode, and I sound like a sick little boy. I always sound sick on this show, and it's not fair because I feel great. Maybe it's also because I had a couple drinks last night. Maybe I'm secretly hungover. I don't feel hungover, but maybe I sounded. I don't know. Who cares? All right, let's move on to our scratch of the day. Scratch of the day. You know what it is. It's episode 138 or something. Do I really have to tell you what scratch of the day is? You know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, this is your first time listening. By the way, sorry, I don't always sound like this. If it is your first time listening, you'll piece together what this segment is. I'm not even going to bother explaining it. Okay, first story comes from, no, I wouldn't say my backyard, but quite close to where I am, at least 2 hours away. My wife actually sent me this story last night because this occurred yesterday afternoon. This is quite recent. A person has been killed by a shark attack at a popular Sydney beach. The article reads, "Dad killed in freak shark attack at popular Sydney beach, remembered as, quote, good bloke." A family is enduring a devastating Father's Day. Oh, that's right. It's Father's Day today. I should call my dad after this. A family is enduring a devastating Father's Day after Mercury, how do I say his name? Mercury Fisalkis? Interesting name, was killed while surfing at a popular beach on Sydney's northern beaches. The 57-year-old father, an experienced surfer, had been with friends about 100 metres off Long Reef in DY when he was attacked by what police said was a large shark at about 10 a.m. on Saturday. Quote, "We understand he leaves behind a wife and a young daughter, and Sunday being Father's Day, it's particularly critical and tragic," Northern Beaches Police Area Commander Superintendent John Duncan said. That is a long job title. Duncan said, I'm sorry I'm getting his name wrong. It's Psillakis, like Fisakis? I don't know. I'm going to call him Mercury because that's his first name, which is a great name. Mercury suffered catastrophic injuries and lost several limbs in what was a freak attack. Mercury and his board disappeared before he was found floating in the water. Surfers pulled him to shore, but despite efforts to save his life, he had lost a lot of blood and died at the scene. Mercury's wife and daughter rushed to the beach after hearing of the news. His brother Mike arrived shortly after. Mercury was an experienced surfer who lived in the area and never missed a morning out on the waves. Sean Pierce paid tribute to his friend who lived life traveling the world, surfing and spending time with his family and working. He was a good bloke to everyone. You couldn't find someone to say a bad word about him, Pierce said. When I grew up, he was always the one to help out the grommets. Grommets is like an Australian term for little kids, I think. Or is it grommets like a surfing thing? I don't know. I think maybe the grommets are like little nippers, like they're like the little surfers. I'm not 100% sure there. Authorities offered their condolences to Mercury's family and the wider tight-knit community. Quote, there has been a tragic loss of life on one of our beaches, and our deepest condolences today are with the man's family and friends. Premier Chris Minns said that this was an awful tragedy. My heart goes out to the victim's family and friends, he said in a statement. I also want to thank the first responders and community members who tried to help in such a tough and confronting circumstance. Shark attacks are rare, but they leave a huge mark on everyone involved, particularly the close-knit surfing community. Duncan said the attack was a freak incident that happens very, very rarely. Several people were at the beach and its surrounds during the time of the attack, including competitors of a junior surf competition. Beaches from Narrabeen to Manly have been closed since and will remain closed for at least 24 hours. DY is expected to remain closed for up to 76 hours. Authorities were out in the water trying to find the shark but were unable to do so. Police and shark biologists from the Department of Primary Industries are examining the body, 2 sections of a surfboard that were recovered, and speaking with witnesses to determine the species of shark involved. Sydney-siders are urged to avoid the beaches in the areas as lifeguards keep people from entering the water. Drone operations will continue to be scanning the water for any signs of shark activity. Quote, volunteers can continue to assist council and authorities to protect the public from further danger in any way we can. For now, please remain clear of the water at beaches in the vicinity and follow the direction of lifeguards and lifesavers. Authorities offered their condolences to the victim's family and wider community. Quote, there has been a tragic loss of life on one of our beaches, and our deepest condolences today are with the man's family and friends. Our deepest condolences go to the family of the man involved in this terrible tragedy, Surf Lifesaving NSW Chief Steve Pearce said. The New South Wales government thoughts are with the bite victim, their family, and the first responders, a spokesperson for the Department of Primary Industry said. There's a bit more in this article just about the rarity of shark attacks in Sydney, so I won't read that because we've covered that plenty. But a very, very sad story. And pretty close to home. I'm not a surfer myself, but where we are is probably about a 2-hour drive from this beach. In Australian standards, not far at all. I have a lot of friends who go surfing, and this kind of shit worries me a lot. It's one of the reasons I don't like the beach. I know shark attacks are incredibly rare, but the likelihood of being attacked by a shark goes down dramatically if you just don't go into the water. And it's not just that. I just don't really enjoy the ocean. I don't mind swimming in a lake or a river or, a creek. That's fine. But the ocean, just, Jesus Christ, there's so much out there that can hurt you. And this attack sounds brutal. He lost multiple limbs. And there's 2 pieces of body that they're examining. That's terrible. Oh, God. Okay. You know what I think we need? While I blow my schnoz, I think we need a little bit of African drum circle. You haven't contributed much in this episode. I think you need to chime in here. Okay, bud? I didn't realize that you cut off so early. That's the most anyone's ever heard you. I've never played that sound effect all the way through. I mean, sound effect. What sound effect? That's a real guy playing drums live in my bedroom. Okay, this is an interesting story. I haven't read this one yet, but the headline reads, January 6 rioter who wore a Camp Auschwitz hoodie has been arrested on animal attack charges. What the fuck? That might be one of the most unique sentences I've ever read on this show. Okay, let's read this and see what's going on. Oh boy, this is crazy. This might be our first dickhead of the day all year. Okay, the January 6th rioter seen in photos wearing a, quote, Camp Auschwitz hoodie inside the U.S. Capitol building has been arrested in Virginia on charges stemming from a dog attack. Robert Keith Packer, 60 years old, was arrested on Thursday, quote, following an investigation into animal-related incidents that had occurred on Monday in Newport News, a city spokesperson said. Packer was charged with 1 count of animal attack resulting from owner's disregard for human life, a felony, the spokesperson said. He was also charged with attacking while at large and no city license, both misdemeanors. Well, I'm still kind of confused what happened. Civil charges have also been filed against Packer, including dogs running in a pack and vicious dog, the spokesperson said. Police told Newport News ABC affiliate WVEC that 4 people were taken to the hospital with dog bites stemming from the attack. So does he just have a bunch of dogs that he's sicking on people? Is that what's happening? As part of the investigation, authorities seized 1 adult dog, 6 11-week-old puppies, 4 live rabbits, and 1 deceased rabbit from the property. The case is being investigated by the city's Animal Service Division, police said. Packer is scheduled to be arraigned on the charges on the September 12th. Online court records do not list any attorney information. He was previously convicted in connection with the January 6th attack after pleading guilty in 2022 to one misdemeanor count of demonstrating inside the US Capitol building and was sentenced to 75 days in prison in connection with the Capitol siege. Wild. Federal prosecutors in the January 6th case said that Packer had, quote, had been a habitual criminal offender for 25 years with 21 convictions, mostly for drunk driving, but also for larceny, drug possession, and forgery. What a great guy. I wonder who he voted for. He was incarcerated for several previous offenses, they said. He was ultimately pardoned. Oh, what a surprise. After President Donald Trump issued a sweeping series of pardons for defendants charged in the January 6, 2021 attack earlier this year. Wow. Sometimes I forget that January 6 happened. That's it's crazy that you guys would gloss over that. That's the fucking wildest thing that's ever happened. And you guys pretend it didn't happen. That's so funny. Okay, anyway. All right, final story. This might be a long one. Villagers say there's a rogue man-eater in their jungle and it has a taste for right legs. Interesting. Sorry, I just sniffed into the microphone. Let me mute. God, I hope that mute worked in because that was gross. Okay, a group of men heads out at dusk along narrow jungle paths. They find spatters of blood, then ripped pants, and finally a pair of shoes. And then they find a body. Okay, this might be a long one, but we're going to read it. This is Sydney Morning Herald, by the way, and I will credit it. It was written by Zach Hope and Amelia Rosa. Okay. The search party went at dusk on battered trail bikes, inching up narrow jungle paths and steep ridges towards the small coffee farms carved over generations from the wild highlands of southern Sumatra. They were a handful of men, friends, and neighbors of Karim Yulianto, a father and husband who hadn't come home. Slung over their shoulders were tubular, homemade sound guns. Machetes, should it come to that, were sheathed on their waists. Arriving at Karim's 1 hectare plot, they found spattered blood. Nearby were the man's missing shoes and ripped pants. When they found his machete, they noticed that it was flecked with wood chips, meaning that he'd been pruning and his back would have been exposed. With this evidence, men called for reinforcements. By nightfall, almost 60 people had joined them. In the village of Kalibata Atlas, on the western side of Indonesia's Lampung province, Karim's wife, Supami Ningshi, was growing anxious. It was unusual for her husband to be home any later than 2:30 p.m., let alone after dark. It couldn't have been a road accident. The farmer friend had spotted his motorbike still at the plot. Perhaps he'd fallen ill, she thought. After all, Supami herself was sick. Normally, she'd go up with her husband, but on the September 21st, 2024, Karim had gone alone. When she was informed of the search party's initial discoveries, she knew that she was getting bad news. Around 9 p.m., one of the searchers yelled for his fellows. He had found Karim. The mangled body was so well covered by twigs and leaves that the man had actually stepped on it. Rushing over, the friends discovered Karim's right leg missing and the back of his neck punctured with bites. From deeper in the jungle rolled the low, unmistakable growl of a Sumatran tiger. Karim, who was 46 years old, was victim number 4. Villagers in the Suo region of Lampung had no recent memories of the critically endangered tigers attacking humans. This changed February last year when a man named Gunarso was found dead at his newly purchased coffee plot, only a kilometre from the family's home in Sumber Agung. The village was rattled. No one knew how to tell his wife that he had died. Only at the wake did she overhear people say, "Until then, I thought he had an accident." From no deaths in years, there have now been 7 in Suo in bordering districts in the past 18 months. The furthest distance between any 2 fatalities is about 20 kilometres apart. Some have only been mere kilometres apart. The recent killing on August 7th was a man named Ujang Samsudin. Villagers believe it's a single tiger responsible, a bona fide man-eater. Ooh, roll credits. They base this on the fact that identical paw prints were discovered near the bodies. There is another, less scientific reason. All the victims were missing their right legs. Was this the tiger's favorite part? Is it its calling card? Park authorities set up 2 traps in the area near Karim's coffee plot, baiting one with a goat and the other with a donated pet dog. Quote, yes, it would be sad to lose someone's pet, said the village head, who goes by one name, but it's sadder to lose a person. So they've basically used a pet dog to bait this tiger out. Both animals made it home alive. Unfortunately for the goat, it was promptly slaughtered for a feast. Until there is DNA testing of gathered hair and feces, which apparently no organization or government department can afford, it is impossible to know for sure whether a sole man-eater is on the loose or if several tigers have simultaneously decided to start hunting humans. Both alternatives are terrifying. Veterinarian Ernie Suyani Musabin, who has worked with Sumatran tigers for years, is also a member of Harimau Kita, a community organization set up in 2008 to help conserve tigers. Based on patterns of behavior and a tiger's ability to cover the distance between 8 reported attacks in and around Suo, she tentatively subscribes to the one tiger theory. Quote, tiger attacks can happen for several reasons, such as a human being in their territory. But we have 8 attacks towards humans, and several were followed by consumption, she says. The one survivor was likely not attacked to be eaten. Firstly, he was attacked from the front and was not alone. Tigers attack after lying in wait. They don't confront. In February last year, the suspected killer tiger was caught on jungle camera near the second fatality. Ernie and others noticed that its features were strikingly similar to a male tiger photographed in a neighboring region in 2017. It was already an adult back then. Now it would be getting elderly, possibly choosing to hunt humans because they were easier to catch than wild deer or boar. Ernie theorizes that the tiger moved into the Suo region sometime after 2017 because there were too many males in its old hunting grounds. Quote, the paw size can indicate that it's one individual, but we didn't find paw prints at all the attack sites, she says. We collected feces and hair from the last 2 attacks. That could genetically provide some hard evidence that the attacks are held by the same individual. Heeding warnings from experts like Ernie, the coffee growers have changed the way that they work. Before February last year, they would usually go to their plots alone. Now they travel in groups, working together on one family's farm one day and the other farm the next, and so on. After 100 days of mourning, Karim's widow, Supami, went back to their small plot, accompanied by about 25 villagers. It was a show of solidarity and safety, but also the overgrown plantation needed many hands. Quote, I was scared, I was sick, I was sad, she says. But someone needed to tend to the coffee farm. Supami doesn't go up there anymore. She's hired someone instead, splitting the meager profits 50-50. Despite her grief, she says she doesn't want the tiger harmed. I just want that one tiger captured and removed from the area, she says. This is a common refrain in the villages. Killing the tigers is not an option anyway. The director of Conservation Foundation Sintas Indonesia estimates there have been only 350 Sumatran tigers left in the world. The breed has been the victim of poaching and habitat loss due to illegal logging. The island of Java once had its own species of tiger. So did Bali. Both are now extinct. Indonesia and the world cannot afford the Sumatran tigers to go the same way. There's a little bit more of the story, but I think I'm going to save it there. I'm going to follow this up because I think that the people who wrote this would be really interesting to talk to. So I'm going to try to reach out to them and see if I can interview them or something like that. But I'm going to call it there, guys. That's going to be our episode for today. Firstly, apologies for my blocked nose. It's so bad. I would like to apologize. No, sorry. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? You can do all the social media bullshit. We have a website, www.maneaterspod.com. You can go get your merch there. Haven't had a merch order for a while, guys. What are you doing? Christmas is coming up. You can get them a little hat or a drink bottle, maybe. Yeah. We also have an email, maneaterspod@gmail.com. You can go there to ask me any questions or give feedback or, I don't know, miracle cures for blocked noses on a Sunday morning. That would be great. Also, the Instagram @ManeatersPodcast or @JimothyChaps. Reach out to me there. That's probably the best place to chat to me. I do love hearing from you guys. And of course, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/maneaters. If you would like to support the show, you can do so for as little as, I can't remember, like $5 or something. You know, you don't need that $5. Give it to me, and I will use it to buy anti-congestion medication. That's the plan. We'll be back next week with a new episode, or will it be a new episode? It'll be a Redux episode. Finally, after years of teasing it, going to go back to some of the earlier stories that we covered in the podcast and try to do them better. Now that this podcast has evolved and adapted and has a bit of a bigger audience, it's time to go back and cover some stories, hopefully way better than I ever did back in the day. So that's the plan. I won't tell you what episode it will be because I might change my mind, but we will be doing a Redux episode in the following week. So until then, stay safe, look after yourselves. I love you lots. And remember, stay safe out there because it is a jungle out there. I just butchered that ending. Whatever. Time to lie down. Oh my God. Got to call my dad. It's Father's Day. Jesus.